you talk about these first names and all these coaches and being around these guys. Where would you guys go if you went out to dinner Big East tournament week? I've heard about coaches going, to a hangout spot. Like, what would you guys do?
Well, everybody takes a different spot. There's a great line from Hamilton. I'm a big play guy.
Yeah.
I'm on the Bushnell board here, Eugene Neal Theater board. I love theater, and I got to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda. But in there, it's got a great saying in Hamilton: who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And I think if you go to Runyon's, big hangout for the Big East and media people, your story might be told differently, because people see you not as a screaming guy trying to attack officials or whatever they think you're doing, but it may be a whole different kind of guy. I chose differently, and not just me, but pretty much me. John Thompson, a few others probably more like me. That my family, I'm one of 6. My wife's one of 7. Family came down. We were out to eat with them afterwards. And my point being, that's kind of who lives, who dies, who tells your story. So the only story told me was a lot of wins, and I was a determined guy. Both those things are true. But I think I had other sides, which I chose to be with my family. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think anybody ever criticized me for that. But that's kind of things that you do. I didn't see myself. Once again, John, as you and I have talked before, was a good friend, John Thompson. First met him when I was trying out for the Celtics. He was my bunkmate. Okay, down in Canton Millbrook in Marshfield, Massachusetts in the summer. But point being, John was a man, not necessarily had nothing to do with race. People talking, John had his own friends. John had his own friends. I had my own friends. I had my family. So I just think the decisions you make. I mean, guys like Jimmy, PJ was single at the time. Another guy, they get around more. PJ was obviously one of the social director of all of us. And so I think that magical time, people don't realize that. Now, if I saw Louis, I'd talk, certainly long times. Jimmy Boeheim is a really good person. He really is. And, sometimes, the guy's won 970 games.
What makes him a good person, Jim? What makes him a good person? That people,
Well, all the things he does in the Syracuse area. I mean, the cancer survivors. We're both cancer survivors, Jimmy and I. When I first was told I had cancer, one of the first calls I made, Jimmy. And very simply, he's a good person, good man, and a really good coach. He's good about? It's not very complex with Jim. You got to stop them, and you got to score on them. That's Jimmy. And he found ways to get that down with the 2-3 zone and stuff. And Louis would be like one of the great guys. Louis kind of still alive, still sharp. I love Louis. His name for me was never Jim, no coach, Irish. Hey, Irish. And you go through the list of guys. Jimmy O'Brien is a sweetheart of a guy at BC. I've known Jimmy a long, long time. It isn't like we're hugging each other. I'm sure mix-ups or over recruiting and all the different things, but there was a camaraderie, I can tell you, John, in that building. And you look around and John speaks, or Rolly speaks, or PJ speaks, or Jim Boeheim. I'm just saying, we all had egos, obviously. It's, matter of fact, tough fitting in any kind of room with the 10, 11 of us. But I think there's a respect. And in that league, you better bring it respect. Respect for the league, respect for the game, and most importantly, respect for each other. That's a real big deal. And I just think that, and once again, I've had some people call me because they're writing books and written books. Sure. Someone really could do an incredible job writing a book about that time. It was almost like when Lancelot and Camelot, kind of like it was. We all were knights, different looking knights, on the round table with our swords fighting the battle. And yet when it was over, much like the knights would sit and share time, story. And here's the most important thing, with sheer respect. I mean, John could get his kids to play at such a frenetic, tough pace, and yet their kids never would say a word to the officials or anybody else. Terrific. PJ turned Seton Hall into a winner. Final Four, probably should have won it that where Ramil Robinson doesn't make the foul shots. Not that I have a memory about those things, but
how difficult of a job was that at Seton Hall?
Yeah, it was. Well, Uconn, and all we had when I got there was 5 losing seasons in a row. So all of us had jobs. John Thompson comes to Georgetown. No one heard about basketball until John got there. We can keep on going. Generally speaking, no one took over Taj Mahal. I mean, even St. John's had up its game in a different sort of way because at that time they could invite all the St. Peters, the Manhattans over to play them, beat them, and then go out and play who they wanted, where they wanted. But, we all had to give something up in many ways about our own autonomy. What we didn't give up, and this is what Dave Garrett, I said, was so brilliant, and you had to almost be there, John, to truly understand how he preached. If you do well, and you do well, guess what? You'll do well. All of us together. Any fights, arguments, whatever, as best he possibly could, Dave kept that between two guys. John and I had a problem over Israeli kid we had with Dov Hennefeld and Alonzo during a game. Some words were said. We had the kids talking that night. And that doesn't happen as much anymore. But I do think that when you saw a game, you knew who the coach was. By the way, you probably knew who most of the players were. And that was, and this is what I dream of to some degree because I think it's magical that the Big East is very good now, but can be as magical again. You got some good young coaches, certainly. You got a great coach who certainly had the right to the Hall of Fame, Jay Wright. I mean, he'll get by this year and the injuries and stuff, but I'm the time around there. Any place you walk in the city, you just walk back to your hotel or whatever, it's 10 blocks. I mean, you couldn't go more than 10 feet without people stopping you and saying things. And, I mean, it was a community of basketball, and I think everybody it seemed to me around us too after a while. And I don't mean this in a negative way, we were envious of what we were. Just how we were so big. We were like the best basketball league in the country. And that was pretty special for us.